All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, when I say those words, you know what time it is. Podcast from the Sidelines, episode number 81. We're here. We're live. We're tuned in. We got a great guest tonight. All of us are very excited on the show, and we're gonna get to that. But first, we gotta get all the formalities out of the way. Remind all you guys who's here. So let's bring on in our co-hosts. Let's go Brandon first this week. So Brandon, Baird, what's going on down there, buddy?
Yo, we're here. This last week's felt really long. I'm glad today came around. Like
I agree.
It's recording day. Usually it like sneaks up on me sometimes, and I couldn't wait for this episode. So yeah, it just dragged. This last week just dragged on.
Yeah,
so,
I definitely agree, and it is funny because the recording day, that Tuesday, it'll sneak up on you some weeks, and some weeks they just take so long. You're like, I want to go talk to the boys. There's a lot of shit we need to explain to everyone out there. But let's bring in our other host we got tonight, Stephen Hatch, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, the mustachioed, mulleted wonder. I feel like that's a good intro. I mean, what more do you want? Do you want applause as well? There you go, Stephen Hatch.
Thank you. We're back again for episode 81 weeks in a row, dude. That is, oh my God.
Do anything 81 weeks in a row. Yeah, that's crazy.
Blows my mind to think about where we haven't missed an episode. Have not missed one.
We
have
lost
again.
One, but go listen to last week's episode if you want the explanation on that.
10 times worse. Could have been 10 times worse. That could have happened twice.
Exactly. Well, let's hope it doesn't happen tonight because of our great guest, and we're going to bring in in just a second. But before we do that, we got to keep the lights on. We got to talk about our wonderful sponsors. First, we got Liquid IV. Brandon, make that Liquid IV. I know you do it every single week. If you're not watching the video, go check out the video. Brandon does this every single week on the show.
You're missing
out. He
out.
makes a fresh Liquid IV, and I think golden cherry, lemon lime this time. Thank you for showing that. So he throws that in. It's the hydration multiplier. We use it when we're out at the field. It keeps us hydrated and ready to go. Keeps you in that peak performance. The place that you want to be. It's got all the great vitamins and minerals to keep you hydrated. Go check it out. liquidiv.com. That's where you're going to get more information. You can use the promo code Mafia_Moffitt, MAFIA_Moffitt. That's where you're going to you're going to use that code at checkout, get 20% off and free shipping. I haven't messed that one up in a while, but I feel like, every now and then the time comes and it's got to snipe you. You're not ready for it, and all of a sudden the ad read catches up to you. So Liquid IV, go head over to their website. Use Mafia_Moffitt at checkout. Get 20% off and free shipping. We also have NECTR Energy, NECTR.energy. Little weird URL, but NECTR.energy over there. Head over there. It's the awesome little energy pouch we use on the show. I know Hatch loves it when he's driving in 3-hour commute, getting up to Sacramento. So we can come to practice. They got all their awesome flavors listed at nectr.energy.com. Use code Mafia_Productions. Buy 2 cans, get 1 free shipping as well. So save some money, and you're gonna pick up some. Hey, Brandon, are you putting one in this week? Is this a new segment? We're getting the nectar of the week as well. All right, there we go. Get energized, buddy. That's the wintergreen he's got over there. You can check that out at nectar.energy. And last but not least, we got Welts Clothing. Can't wait for our stuff to come in. We've put in an order with them, so can't wait to show that off on the show. weltsclothing.com. The boys down in Texas, we're excited. We're going to see them at the first event. It's coming on up really soon here, boys. We're under 30 days away, so excited for that. Head over there.
Excited.
Use code FTS at checkout for I think it's 10% off. It may be 15. I'm not fully sure the number, but it's somewhere around there. Code FTS at weltsclothing.com. And go check it out. All right. Without further ado, we did all the required things. Let's bring in our guest, ladies and gentlemen. He's kind of, I don't know. I think we've put him on the paintball Mount Rushmore before. He's definitely an iconic figure in the sport. And I'm a fan, but let's bring him in, ladies and gentlemen. We have the legendary filmmaker Dan Napoli. He's directed a lot of things that you've probably seen if you're out there. 15. I'm trying to think of other ones, but they're slipping my mind right now. We've watched One Night in November recently. That was another one, great one by him. But he's touched a lot of things in paintball, and we wanted to bring him on, chat about some things tonight. So how you doing out there, Dan? Welcome on into the show.
Doing well. Thanks for having me, fellas. Also, I know you guys talked about it at the top, but seriously, impressive. Like, doing a podcast 81 weeks in a row is like fucking really impressive. Oh, can I swear? I just thought about that.
Yeah, no, you totally can. Yep.
Okay, sorry.
We hit the explicit button on the upload, so they know.
Well, I know you had Maddie like recently too, so I'm sure you have to be in like explicit mode. But yeah, dude, thank you guys so much for having me. That's so rad. Like I said, kudos to you guys. I mean, everybody wants to have a podcast. Like it's super challenging to like keep up on it. So like, dude, super impressed with you guys doing it that many weeks in a row.
Yeah,
Very cool.
well, thank you, Dan. And I mean, the joke we always bring up is, you know, other men have tried and other men have failed. And there used to be different hosts of the show, but it's us three now. And shout out to those guys. We still love them.
Day one.
Yeah, day one. Me and you, Hats, were the only ones still here.
You got to get the chemistry right, dude. That's
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of chemistry, I feel like we gotta jump into it, because one of the big things I wanted to bring up tonight, it's something in everyone's mind recently. It just happened over the weekend. The Super Bowl took place. Whether you care about the game on the field, whether you care about the, you know, gossip stuff going on in the stands,
the gambling, the bets.
Yeah, the gambling. There's so many different aspects to that game in, you know, 2024, and we wanted to go over some of those with you. More notably, kind of the production side of it. Obviously, you kind of have a background in production, and you know, if maybe you wanted to, you know, fill people in a little bit, you know, why you're maybe a little bit qualified to talk on some of these topics.
Yeah. So obviously, but the gray beard. I've been in production. This is my 25th year. I got out of college yeah, dude, right? Fucking old balls. Got out of college in 99. Also been in paintball that long. Directed a dozen or so documentaries. I've worked in and out of paintball. I've two of my films, 50 Summers, which is a minor league baseball documentary, and then Best Kids in Texas. Got mainstream streaming distribution. 50 Summers is on Peacock. Best Kids in Texas is streaming on Amazon Prime. Like I said, like I've done work for various ad agencies and whatnot, and my degrees in journalism and sports marketing. So yeah,
so
always,
this has been your whole life at this point, essentially.
Yeah,
very decorated.
At this point, at this point, I read the trades. So yeah,
yeah, you know. You're up to date on the news at least. Yeah. Well,
nice.
A couple of the big numbers, you know, top down, I wanted to pull out Super Bowl. So the way they're counting this is all the streaming services. There was also the Nickelodeon version of the game, so that's counted in this, plus international viewers. But their estimates are about 123.4 million viewers of the game, which beat out last year's numbers and made it the most watched TV show ever. That is why they're able to sell ads for $7 million for 30 seconds of airtime. That is what the going rate was this year. How do you capture 120 million people across the globe?
Well, you know, there's a lot of different aspects that go into that. I think one of the first things, and it's cool. I'm really glad, Ryan, that you made that note at the beginning. So when you start to talk about ratings in television or any of those things in general, is like, it's very important you keep track of where the metrics change. Mm-hmm. Like they even used to, like the Nielsen's used to measure in a different way. So the reason I say that is like 2 years ago, last Super Bowl is when they started doing this compiled number where they take all of the, like, you know, they're bringing, oh God, it's not Telemundo. It's another large Spanish language channel. Like that's
Univision or something like that. I can't think of the actual one. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's Univision. Like that's all loaded in. So really you have to look at this year compared to last year, which is awesome. I think it's up 7 or 9%.
It's about,
what you have to be careful about doing, and this happens a lot in some other elements and when some paintball things come into it, is extrapolating, like comparing 2023's or 2024's this year's Super Bowl to like the 1995 Super Bowl.
Two very different products.
Yeah, even just because of how the things are measured. And what also goes into that is, and you know, also to answer your question, is the Super Bowl's almost 60 years old now. 50 or 55 changed first Super Bowls in 67. So how do we get this audience? How do we get this? Like, how do we arrive at this number? I mean, dude, the first couple of Super Bowls were not even called like the Super Bowls. I think Super Bowl III is kind of when they started using that. So like you build all of these things. So you have decades of building this into the big game. As a Gen Xer, I'm right in the wheelhouse of the 1980s is really when the Super Bowl started to become more of like a cultural event. It's when advertising really started to become like, so the premise of like, hey, when's this, like, ooh, what are the new Super Bowl ads? And of course, there's no social media. Nobody's cheating. Like, you're not getting advances. There's a thing from the late 80s and the early 90s that was called like the Bud Bowl, where they had these like animated like Bud Light versus Budweiser, like actual like VFX bottles lined up as football. Like they play it at halftime.
Really?
So yeah, it's hilarious and terrible, but like fun at the same time. Like it was a big, and it's probably like 88 through something, but like I note that because all of these things have been ramping up to Super Bowl to be this like cultural event that like football fans don't necessarily, or it's not watched by just football fans. So that's part of the way that we get to like, how do you charge $7 million
for 30 seconds? Yeah, essentially.
For 30 seconds, because it is the most watched. And now in the TV landscape, like, dude, there's some dominant number that like, I don't know. It's seriously like 7 or 8 of the top 10 shows of the year, most watched shows, are NFL games.
Oh, sports. Yeah, well, sports is
and
essentially as like the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely been a big push this year. I mean, and it just makes sense because obviously a lot more people in my generation are starting to come into aspects where they're becoming the more targeted consumer. And a lot of us, we stream stuff. You know, we watch content either online, you know, through maybe ESPN Plus or Hulu or any of those. But a lot of us, you know, there's no reason to watch it live unless it's a sport event or something that it has to happen live. You have to watch it right now, or else, you know, Twitter's going to spoil it for you, and you know you're not going to see it or something like that.
Absolutely. That's why these sports are getting astronomical contracts, and then that's also why like the spots are costing what they're costing, and then that's why like if you look at the gap, I mean, I don't know what it is, but I'm sure if you look at the gap between the Super Bowl and the next most watched program of the year, it's probably laughable.
Oh,
how
yeah.
much bigger the Super Bowl audience is.
Well, and yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that, you know, you were talking about how it's now a cultural event. It's also different in other sports where, you know, other sports play series. It's not one moment, 60-minute game to decide who wins everything. It's, all right, best of 7. You know, you got to win 4 to prove that you're better than the other team. True, yeah. Baseball, hockey, you know, basketball, they all have that component to it. Whereas it's, you know, a little more climactic. It's, all right, we know we're going to show up. There's 2 teams. One's going to win. And then, you know, we're going to go our separate ways. So it's kind of that Game 7 atmosphere, or that, you know, must-watch television type moment, just automatically by how it's set up as an event.
Yeah, I mean, overall... Oh, go ahead, brother. I'm so sorry.
No, you're all good. You're all good. Go ahead.
I was just to say, I mean, overall, the NFL, I think probably of US-based sports, has like the best model between the meshing, which has taken them a long time to create, but between the meshing of salary caps, the way that you measure and can finagle that, the way, I think there's some statistic that like as of week 15, like 70% of the league is not eliminated from the playoffs. There's like only 3 weeks left. Like 70% of the league still has a chance to make it. It's a week to
based off the wild card, and like
right to qualify
low
for the
amount of games, and
The flip side, baseball, which is I was a college baseball player many years ago.
Oh, I didn't know that actually.
yeah, dude, elbow surgery.
Tommy John's, nice. Let's go.
Yeah, a little early. But like it's almost the reverse of it. It's not quite, but it's something more that like by the All-Star break, almost at least half, almost a third of Major League Baseball is eliminated from the playoffs. But you still have 4 months to go.
Yeah, you still have to play 80 or so games. But
yeah, not 4 or 3 or 2.5, but yeah.
And you do have situations where, you know, teams that stand out, in my opinion, obviously, I mean, they've made a movie about them, but the 2002 Oakland A's, where they were able to turn it around so much and start to win at such a high rate that, okay, they started coming back in the conversation. But that doesn't happen often enough to make it to where that sport's kind of viable from that standpoint. Like, it's a majority of the time, all right, we're halfway through the season, you know, we know it's going to be these top 4 teams, maybe 2 other teams who are fighting for, you know, wild card spots, and then there's 6 teams at the bottom who are just showing up for a paycheck.
if baseball didn't have the inventory it does from an advertising standpoint, like that's where they're making their volume, because they are providing, even though it's in a way more regional, they are providing 162 pieces of inventory in the Denver metro area for the Colorado Rockies. Versus like the grand level of. Well, and it's,
I mean, we're kind of getting off the topic I was going for, but I do like this conversation because I think it is interesting. We're seeing now a lot with the rise of these Japanese stars, in baseball. We're seeing Japanese companies now spending exorbitant amounts of money to, for whenever Shohei is pitching, their logo's now on the back because they know all of Japan is tuning in, so that they're getting ad placement for their home country, for maybe a new audience that's never heard of them before. It's
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's something new that we've seen because of this kind of new wave of all-stars coming in from Japan.
Damn.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. I mean, ad revenue as a whole and all of that was one of the aspects I wanted to talk about. The other one I wanted to talk about was gambling revenue on the game.
Oh my God.
The estimates for this, and of course I have to say estimates because it's impossible to figure out all the illegal bookies and offshore sites and all that stuff, but the estimate that they have is $20 to $23 billion was gambled on the game and that day. So that also includes national anthem length, things like that nature, but around Super Bowl based props. So that's a lot of fucking money. I mean, Jesus Christ, that's a quarter of $100 billion in just bets changing hands. That is another aspect that's allowed all of these sports to grow exponentially recently. Since, was it 2018 or 2017 when sports betting was legalized for the... I forget when Supreme Court did it, but they overturned a case, I want to say, that then made sports gambling a states' rights issue, so the states could then decide if they wanted to allow it or not.
That sounds familiar about that time. I feel like I remember hearing that.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the points I'm making here is, those are ways that game makes its money back. So then production can spend, I don't know how much, but maybe $20-30 million on actually covering the game and, host talent, all the different technologies, all the different staff and crew and everything that goes into presenting that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and I think maybe because it's a little bit of a newer thing, like I'm not as educated in, other than of course going in the overall coffer, like I don't know how much of that makes it, the revenue stream from gambling makes it back in.
Yeah, I wouldn't know either. I just more so mean that contracts. Yeah, but it's another, because that's one of the things that you saw majorly was gambling sponsors. That was DraftKings spent hundreds of millions of dollars advertising during the Super Bowl. That money does trickle back down into the league through broadcast revenue deals, through other means. I think the point I was trying to paint there, and how I am relating this to paintball, is those are all things that are there that are drawing revenue and money into the game that aren't people playing the game at a lower level at the same event. Because that's kind of what paintball has right now to, put on these events or to try new things or, production budgets. And of course, Score Sports has the paywall and stuff like that. But the opportunities for them to sell to, bigger advertisers and people who might have that money to bring in to then, make a better product, and that kind of circle loop that starts to continue is smaller now. And I think that's kind of where I wanted to bring all this, is to show like the Super Bowl is where it's at today because it's had, like you said, 60, 70 years almost of getting towards that point.
Well, so dude, I think you hit on something incredibly interesting that I don't know if it gets talked about enough with paintball. I know the NFL had its Play 60 campaign and whatnot, but to your point, at the end of the day, the NFL doesn't give a shit if you play football.
They don't care about high school players really, other than talent to replace. Yes, but
right.
Sorry.
Right. They have to have their pipeline. Now it's the Italian hands. But that's not reliant. I mean, as a matter of fact, their growth has been exponentially removed from You know, with now what we know about CTE and all this kind of stuff like this, the participation numbers for tackle football are down when like all of these viewer numbers are up. And why is that? Because they don't give a shit. They want, if you buy a Travis Kelce jersey and tune in, that's what they give a shit about, is fans and spectators and gamblers. And that's a traditional sport. That is a spectator sport model. An action sports model does have more in common with paintball when you are going to have these larger, like, right, you're gonna have
I mean, just to give you an easy example is like skateboards. You know, like big skateboarders, you get big, all right, now you have a deck that's your, you know, personal series deck. Sell 1,000 of those, now you have a revenue stream where, you know, you need 1,000 people actually wanting to ride your skateboard and, you know, go out there and do what you're doing on their own level, but using the equipment that either you're, you know, a part of or invested in.
Yeah, and even the competitions are a little bit more akin to paintball, where they're reliant on, you know, the fate of the NFL doesn't go in the same direction as the fate of like Pee Wee or high school football. If there's reductions in participation numbers, they're going up because they're selling a spectator project.
They're selling gladiators in the arena.
They're selling buy an Aftershock jersey and watch. I don't give a shit if you play or not, you know? Yeah. But the NFL doesn't make footballs. They make an entertainment property, right?
And then they sell rights against it. And that's, you know, everyone makes billions of dollars off that. And it's crazy, but...
You know, but I mean, you know, but shit, dude, right? Marky and I mean, HK makes headbands and gun collabs and clothes and you know, and whatever. Planet makes guns and GI makes paint. And it's like, so they all need you to buy those things. The NFL doesn't need you to buy anything except like ticket, merch, and be an eyeball so they can sell you to advertising. So there's like some inherent differences there, you know?
Just in who... Because I see what you're saying there, and I guess it's who reaps the reward of that, you know, because if paintball blows up, the companies that are going to kind of reap the reward of that is going to be the JTs, or I guess the core, the HKs, those companies, because they're going to see more people participating in the sport, whereas the NXL, I guess, would they not see as big of a number jump? I feel like they would as well. I guess to me, those two numbers would be correlated.
But with the example of the NFL, they're not. With football, they are not. Participation in football,
okay,
does not correlate with interest in the NFL, but participation in paintball. So that's a little bit. So the NFL is not, as long as it has a pipeline of talent, you're not. Its bottom line and its revenue isn't affected.
Because it'll still be able to put its product out on the field.
Right, because its product is entertainment for spectators to watch and fans
it's
to buy
honestly, things. I mean, it's kind of a drastic example, but it's honestly not all that different from the WWE or an entertainment series like that. It's just, it puts a different show out on, you know, the field or the court or the ring or whatever it is.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm wearing a fucking sports entertainment
hoodie,
so
I knew WWE would be for you. Yeah, you got a CM Punk one on, but like, I mean, that is kind of definitely people, as much as they hate, you know, want to hate that and, you know, hate the kind of the story and the excitement and the drama, they also are drawn to it like moths to a flame. I feel like why has WWE been the biggest entertainment like enterprise in America for like 30 years at this point?
Yeah, I mean, dude, I'll take the hate and the $5 billion they just signed with Netflix all day long and twice on Sunday. There you go.
Exactly. That's a streaming service. Like, oh my gosh,
shitload of money, man.
That's
for the rights.
To comprehend $5 billion. That is insane.
Right, man. I cannot even.
You can fill up a warehouse with that in cash.
And they tripled that contract from fivefold. I think the contract was $1 billion at Fox.
Okay, and then so they were able to negotiate higher with Netflix.
Yeah, I mean they technically moved the Fox show moves to Universal USA Network, and then the USA Network show moves to Netflix. But
well, of course it's not clean, but I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's kind of how about it went.
They're doing that. And then there's also like a massive international element to that business, because Netflix is going to be the provider. WWE. Oh, go ahead, brother.
No. I finished your thought real quick, please.
Just WWE is shutting down their Go Sports network, if you will. They're internationally, and Netflix is now where their product is going to be. Their subscriber paywalled product is going to be delivered to the rest of the world. And then the implication, everybody thinks that once their contract expires at Peacock, which is currently where their network lives in the States, everything's going to migrate over to Netflix, because Netflix is trying to make a play into live sports.
Oh, and similar to what Apple's done, and kind of every big kind of streaming site is trying to get some type of sport project underneath.
They can't. Netflix is in an interesting spot. Like those contracts are so valuable. There's nothing to get in a traditional. So Netflix has first stepped into it with their docu content. They had a few golf tournaments, like a weird one-off here or there. Now they're trying to get into live sports, but you can't get. The NFL contract is pretty tied up. Major League Baseball's contract is tied up. Like, what's available? The
not
quasi,
much out of the like core four kind of.
For now, the sports entertainment, and then they can potentially, in the future, they may be a bidder for some of those like live sports contracts, because like you said, they're behind. Like Apple TV has a bit of a baseball contract. Amazon Prime. Has part of that football contract.
Well, I was going to say, Apple probably was able to get that contract, like you were saying earlier, just because of how many opportunities throughout a season there are. There's 162 games for each team. So, okay, if you want to broadcast 40 of them, we could probably find 40 games to sell you the rights to.
Yeah, dude, the Apple game's on at like 10 in the morning or something like that, I think.
See, it's not good, but it's on there.
But if you're a little kid, right? I mean, you're not.
But yeah, no Sunday morning cartoons anymore. So
yeah, you're raring to go at 10 a.m. So yeah, I mean, the landscape and all that stuff, but it's about spectators. Like all of those things are not driven by participation, and paintball revenue is, if you're a paintball brand, much in the same way, like you said, a skateboard brand or a snowboard brand. So there's just like this inherent viewpoint difference and challenge that I think paintball faces.
Yeah, sorry.
Is there a tipping point where that happens? Where does the sport, the NFL, as you were using it, when it gets just so large and big that it doesn't have to rely on the consumers, or as you said, much as just selling the viewership? At what tipping point does that happen?
Damn, bro, that's such a good question. If I had that,
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, I know. I'd be like, Tom Cole, dude, call me up. I have to like. I think some of it is an inherent nature, and dude, it's interesting. Like, I've been around long enough. Like, we've had some of these conversations through some different generations of, like Brandon, like what's your favorite
and stuff? Yeah.
What's your favorite NFL team, bro?
Oh, I'm a Niner fan.
Great, you're a fucking great squad. Also, like, I grew up in Denver, so I was definitely rooting for those dudes. What brand pads do the Niners wear?
Oh, I don't know. Is it right now?
I think it's right now, but yeah.
Ultimately,
the point you're making still stands.
Fuck.
Yep.
It doesn't fucking matter. Equipment doesn't matter on a consumer basis in that sport outside of perhaps
cleats,
shoes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Paintball, like, and this is where you get to action sports, like you were talking about, Ryan. Skates, boots, bindings, bearings, but all of that equipment really matters. So
loader,
I'm not
hopper,
sure,
air system, like pod pack, like
So I'm just not sure if the tipping point, Brandon, in those two places are kind of like the same. It would be fascinating to talk to an experienced NFL of like, a old, even older than me, dude. Somebody that can go back to 60s and 70s, right? And maybe where that really changed for them, But again, the inherent sports are different, so that those tipping points might be totally different. But I mean, man, that's a fucking great question. I bet a lot of people wish they had the answer.
Well, and something to help with that, I know we were talking about wrestling earlier, and one of the points I wanted to bring up with wrestling, Dan, maybe if someone out there hasn't ever watched a match or, never watched wrestling in their life, are wrestlers exciting people?
I would say yes.
So they don't come out, just head down, walk towards the ring, do their job, and leave, pack up their stuff, and go home. They make a scene, they add their character, right. They have a flair, they create scenes, they create drama, they draw viewers into the sport.
So if you're interested in talking about this, all of your most successful pro wrestlers and people like Dwayne Johnson, John Cena, Steve Austin, like people who have super broken through, what they'll always tell you is that like their character is a massive amplification of themselves. So Steve Austin's real name is Steve Williams. Stone Cold Steve Austin is Steve Williams from South Texas, turned up to 17. That's kind of the marching order on all of these different, like, CM Punk is Phil Brooks exacerbated.
I think that's a good high level, because what I was going to relate that to paintball with is, why now do we have rules where NYX back in the day, they want a point, they dump a loader on some people. That's a great moment. That's hype. It builds, entertainment, excitement. They'd get a penalty for that now. And there's been a couple other rule changes that have gone towards, not letting these guys express themselves. And I think we're now moving away from that. I think we had a couple years of that. And now we're getting some guys who are starting to be like, well, no, this is how we sell it. This is, if I come out here and talk my shit, then more people are going to pay attention. The point I was trying to relate is, wrestling at the end of the day, it's a very big athletic performance, but it's, I don't want to say fake, but it's
predetermined. It's entertainment. It's predetermined.
Exactly.
Just like a movie.
But they're able to bring in millions of people to watch it and to give a shit and to hang on every moment that's happening in a match because of how they portray and sell it. Not necessarily just because of, what an elbow drop looks like. Although that would still, that's a hype moment and it's cool to see someone fly like that.
Right. Okay. People relate to the characters, man. I mean, there's a reason, like, again, if you're so inclined, like, fucking Google Snoop Dogg and the last WrestleMania. Snoop Dogg, one of the cool, he's like a little fucking kid. He's so giddy that he's getting to do all this kind of shit. Like, yeah, it's fucking entertainment. It is, it's
Trump was in a WWE Super Slam at one point. Like, it's, anyone can get up there, but it's how they sell it.
It's a piece of entertainment. It's athletically scripted entertainment. And I think when people want to look at the analogies, I don't think it's ever about the concept of, like, I don't think anybody's ever was like, paintball should be scripted. That's fucking ridiculous. But
no,
you can,
people would say it is, or, there may be people who during the years or certain periods of time, but yeah.
Bro, I guess that's fucking golden. Whoever pulled that up.
Good job, Brandon. Yeah, young Jamie got a good one up there.
That is fucking fantastic.
I'll have to throw that in the video. But I was just saying, wrestling's just such an easy one because that's really all the substance of the sport is the ability to create a story and then do an athletic performance and kind of sell whatever that story that you built up was. Obviously, MMA has a very similar note. You could say some of the NFL, we've started to see that more and more recently.
Well, so, dude, that's funny. Okay, I'll give you another, like, weird wrestling insider thing that just cripples paintball. One of the number one things that, like, they'll teach a wrestler is what sells your shit is, like, your, I'll frame this in the long form, your facial expressions. We'll call it short form, right? That's your selling. Like, that's all of your, like...
Well, that's why it's like, selling. Like, that's why that term is used a lot.
Right. Immediately, paintball players have fucking masks on. Okay,
and everyone loves tinted lenses.
Right. Yeah. That's an obstacle. I mean, just some of the stuff that you were talking about earlier to bring back to paintball stuff, and like that's some things that I've noticed over the course of time. It's been a while since I've stepped on a field now, but like, and I get that there's logical reasons for all the decisions that are made. I think sometimes people don't give the powers that be enough like credit. There may be not the logic that I'm operating from as a filmmaker or a storyteller, as a media person. Like one of the examples I always love to talk about is this concept where they go like, I mean, there's a reason that buzzers are used. That's like super logical. That's fine. I fucking hate it. And for my purposes, it's terrible because a flag is clear. That flag grab, and then you would get, players that would taunt. They would taunt each other.
I mean, I can think of one in my head right now. An image in my head is the end of the Joy Division San Diego Dynasty game. BC running down the field, mass painted all the fucking orange, and half the crowd's cheering, half the crowd's booing. That's a moment that doesn't happen if he just goes up and goes, tap.
Beep. Yeah. So when you start to take away that real estate, it makes it a little bit, there's a lot of challenging things. So the more of those things that you can put back in, paintball. I mean, obviously you're going to wear goggles, as goggles are. But little things like that make a difference.
What I'm hearing is we got to go back to Brandon's dad's days and just rock the Scott goggles, and just that's all we get. No face protection.
Awesome. That scares me, bro. That scares me.
I mean,
just the thought of that.
I went back yesterday. I posted a reel with Brandon and his dad in it, funnily enough. But it always freaks me out when I go back and watch like early mid '90s footage, and you just see just Scott goggles, and it's like this seems deadly. Like someone's gonna break a tooth. I don't know. Like
Did nobody catch one right down the gullet? You know what I'm saying? Like, did that ever happen before? Like,
I've eaten paint and I wear a mask in front of me, and I still feel like I've like taken shots in the chin before.
Yeah,
dude, there have been some where it comes right head on, where all the paint just goes right in my mouth while I'm yelling, and you
get choked.
Yes, that shrapnel, dude. It's like that scene from Tony Stark in the first Iron Man, bro. You are shrapneled in, dude. So
such a particular reference.
Yep.
Well, good job, Hatch. But yeah, and I think by the Super Bowl kind of more professional athletic side, we touched on a lot of the stuff I wanted to tonight. But I think that is where a lot of it comes from, is like that's been built up for 2 or 3 generations of time at this point to be to where it is, to Vegas shuts down for it, and all these people watch around the globe at this point, not just around America. It's it's built to that based off of a long period of time. So some of these things you can expedite very quickly. The X Games type of explosion and boom that it saw really quickly, that can happen. But a lot of the time these sports leagues and these very successful industries we see today have been built since since World War II. Essentially, that's where a lot of them kind of have their first starting date, is the end of that.
I'd love to see the research what the 1974 Super Bowl, where did that rank amongst like the most watched shows on television? I don't know, but I think that would be like really fascinating to like make that sort of comparison.
I also want to 4x3 in black and white, and
yeah, dude, right? You still got a lot of TVs. No, just to say, I wanted to apologize to your audience before I forget again. I had, excuse me, I had half my thyroid removed in December. So if I get a little like, parchy and as my voice roughens up here or there, like that's what that's from. Apologies.
No problem at all for me. I hope our audience is okay with that out there. I mean, the man's he's a legend. He just went under surgery. Okay, give him his. Be careful with him. It's still a video show, so I guess you could mime for about half the show and just kind of give us some some like marker movements.
My American sign language is not as good as it should be.
Or what we could do is you could just turn on Ironkids in the background and then just let that roll, and that way people are still getting something. You probably wouldn't be too happy. Speaking of, let's kind of transition into that topic. Right behind you, man. That's the editing setup for Ironkids. It's been in the works for a while now in post-production. All of the people in paintball who are not familiar with the production timeline of something are probably like, what the hell is taking so long? All of us who are a little more comfortable are like, Wow, he's making good progress on it. So I guess, let's get kind of a check in. How's it going? How has the process been? Obviously, it's been a little bit of time since we've, or since you and the crew have filmed some things, but it's been a lot more now of building the story, of getting all the right parts together and getting them in the right place.
Yeah, for sure, man. Interesting today. I delivered Alex the first 12 finished minutes today, to let him see.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's like, man, and I know it's such a crazy world because what so many of you guys do, and I know folks like Dylan and stuff. I mean, it's like, it's weird because as I get older, I've become the antithesis of that. Not like that I hate it, but I just mean what I deliver. Like, you guys are turning over good stuff so fast.
I will say,
amazing.
Don't compare yourself to Dylan. If you're out there, do not compare yourself to Dylan Fout. This man will make like the best 3-minute edit I've ever seen. He's like, oh, it took me 30 minutes. I'm like, I hate you. Like, you're just so good. But but
all of you, everyone, Vrabel and Rye Guy, everybody's just turning stuff quick. It's
I
so
will say
different
though too.
than this.
I think it's just, but it's also different formats of content. I think how that content is presented and preserved almost. Because I mean, I don't want to put things out there, but look at your past works. They've stuck through the years. I mean, One Night in November. It's been 12 years since that piece was filmed. Probably
it's crazy
11 or so since you released it, and it's still talked about very often in our community. And that's something that Ironkids has another potential to do, and maybe not even our community, but other communities help spread the word of what this sport is. Man. My little YouTube video of Hatch yelling obscenities as a ref is not going to last that long, and it shouldn't last that long.
Yeah. No, man, intention is huge. And we set out to make something really special. Again, I can't give enough credit, honestly, to Alex and Oliver, but we really sat down, and I mean, the things that we're working in, and big scale docs are 3 to 5 year periods are not atypical. I mean, some things are coming up a lot faster. Also too, look, if Netflix commissions like QB1 or whatever their fucking quarterback show ended up being, yes, they're putting 90 people. So we're talking about indie filmmaking. A lot of the stuff that we're modeling off it, Momentum Generation, which is one of my favorite docs, is a surf doc. That was 7 years. There's some different things, some financing, some stuff that goes into that. So we're going to be about a 3-year cycle. We're looking to premiere.
Is that including pre-production as well, or
Yes.
Okay, so that's actually not that bad, really. I mean, from start of kind of concept of the idea to seeing a full product.
Also, too, when you start to math out, and again, it's really cool that you just sort of point out the differences. So we have around 30 plus interviews that have created about 70 to 80 hours of interview.
And there's a lot there. I mean, I wasn't there for all of them, but the couple that I was there, it's a big story. And I think that's something that I don't know if everyone fully is expecting. And that's why maybe they're like, why is it taking so long? There's a lot to cover here. Yeah,
there's a lot of elements. And also, it's not, we're probably our working title right now, which we're probably sticking with, right, is we could be a dynasty, the story of the Ironkids. Not we are a dynasty fucking crushing everyone. So it's not from 2003 on. This is almost really the dynasty origin story. Mm-hmm. And you also then have things that tie into the NorCal paintball scene and Mare Island and all of these. And so just really trying to get it right, and really there's been a lot of effort. You can't see it because it's in my living room, but I have one of my walls, I have 2 different story clocks, and then my other wall, I have my writer's note carded murder board. There's a lot of
breakdown just for everyone out there. A story clock, what does that kind of look like? What
So story clock, I mean, it's been used in a bunch of different places, but the most recent purveyor of it is a dude named Dan Harmon. who's probably known probably more for your audience, I bet, by like Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
Also did fucking awesome show called Community that was way underrated.
Way before that, yeah.
But so there's a way that you break down. You basically take your 3-act structure or a 5-act structure, if that's what you're writing in, and you break it over a clock. So that starts to get you of your like pacing and where you're like, okay, it's like I need to be out of the first act here, and then we're out of act 2 here, and then these are where, and then so you start to like realize you get in some spots and you can't be like, okay, like the Hawaii scene, which is part of what I delivered to Alex to check out today. Like, we can't be in Hawaii for half an hour in a 2-hour movie. Like, you have some of these, so like that's how you kind of build.
We got to get back to Mare Island at some point, like you got to be bouncing around a bit. At some
point you can't be like, hey, like we're an hour and a half in and the Ironkids haven't formed yet.
It's like maybe we should do that.
Man, we got to get to that. This team's got to form. Something else, just maybe more insider production stuff. I don't know that I will be able to pull this off, but just for me creatively, I wanted to take the leap. Like, we may try to pull this off without a narrator.
That's really hard. So that there's a reason that's my first reaction, because I've done, on a way smaller scale, my own both types of documentaries, one being able to write and tell, kind of setting up what's going on, and then the other where Rebirth was not that. There was no narration done by me. So much harder to tell a story like that when you can't kind of just be like, oh yeah, and now we're going over here, and you have to have someone kind of in the story tell that to the audience and bring it out. And oh yeah, okay,
and so it ties in.
I got anxious for you. I'm sorry, Dan.
Yeah, but no, it's good. It's just, if it doesn't get too complicated. I mean, what's great about it, and we've conducted so many interviews that's possible.
They almost kind of become a narrator of sorts when you have that many voices.
And so there's a reason you do that. Is like there's a creative reason, and something that I really want to lean into this in honoring all of those people that we're documenting is, if Oliver tells you something and Alex tells you something, and then the narrator, whoever they are, comes in and tells you something, that is actually the voice of God and the voice of truth. Like, so whatever the narrator says, if the narrator says Oliver stabbed Alex in the back, you believe that. If Alex
Drive to Survive is a key example of this.
And Drive to Survive is a key example for, at least in the early seasons, of them not doing that on purpose, and them wanting to, like, you have your glue guys, you have your journalist moving it along. So one of the things I'm most excited about in the film also is Matt Marshall's on this side of the camera for once. Like, we interviewed him as a kind of like glue guy, instead of Matty always being like the narrator,
the omnipotent, just voice, God above kind of guy. You actually get to see him, and
he's a great interview. He's an amazing interview, and he was so bringing some of that stuff in.
Go check out our interview with it, guys. It's a couple episodes back. little plug there. That was nice and natural.
Yeah, right. What'd you guys clock in? 3-4 hours?
We went 2, but it was mainly because he had to put his kid to bed. So that was the main thing. So
Monty wasn't
he definitely could have kept going.
If it wasn't, if that didn't happen, he definitely could have. Could have kept going.
Such an amazing dude. But we want to have because then if Oliver says something and Alex says something, you as the viewer are making your own takeaway and your own truth is it. But the second that I come in as a narrator and clean that up, sometimes, and that's why I said I'm not 100% we can do it, sometimes you simply have to have your narrator give context or move you from point A to point B. But I'm going to see if we can avoid that and really just tell the story in the words of the people who lived it. So that is that is also another thing that takes a really long period of time. The last thing that happened, but these are all beautiful things that hopefully the end result, everyone in paintball is very happy with. And this will happen on docs sometimes.
I know they will be. I'm just gonna say that already. I'm so excited. But continue,
brother. We went from thinking so the thing about the Ironkids part of this is the Ironkids ended really before the video explosion started. They ended about a year before everybody started. So even like, you know, and then like years get messed up, you know, so Alex is like, you and Brad were filming. We were like, no, we weren't, bro. We didn't start until 2001. So we were really concerned about how much footage we had. Once it got announced that this got made, the thing that I forgot about is the late 1990s are like America's Funniest Home Videos world. The prosumer camera started to be prevalent. So a lot of people had home movies and found footage. And then, you know, Brad's got some stuff he had done in film school. So I thought we were going to have no resources. I'm just getting boxes of tapes and piled like, dude, I got this text last week. BC's like, hey bro, my mom's cleaning out my stuff. Here's a picture. Are there any of these that would help you? Spider Cup VHS, I have it. Some other thing, have it. The last tape says SC Village, 1995. I'm like, I don't know what that is, bro, but I want
to see it.
Yeah. He's like, he's like, I don't know, man. It's like, it's probably bad. I think it's maybe from the first time I played paintball. I'm like, cool. Now I really fucking want it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Holy shit.
So that's en route.
But
then there's
one thing that's kind of funny to point out here too with the timeline is once digital came around, kind of that 2002, 2003, 4, a lot of the quality of stuff went way downhill for a brief period of time when digital recording wasn't as good as tape and film still was. You would see, you know, stuff in the 90s that it can look pretty good if it's cleaned up and presented correctly. And then early 2000s, it almost looks worse, you know, like it takes a step back and then it starts to get better. And that, you know, eventually digital, you know, almost takes over. And I mean,
yeah, dude,
it's more artistic at this point. Which one do you like?
Some of the quality, like of the found footage we have, I, you know, hope people will be forgiving, and the reward is seeing an 18-year-old Todd Martinez.
That's
you know,
worth it.
That's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, the downside is like, yeah, the quality is a little suspect. But then there, you guys
use neat video, get that cleared up a little bit.
Yeah, dude, I'm trying to, a little topaz.
Yeah, jeez, yeah.
But like,
that's deep cut. All editors out there, they're rolling. They love that one.
Then I have to catalog. Somebody has to catalog all this stuff. Somebody has to bring it in, convert it, and I'm trying to like, I'm trying to like properly convert it. So you can't really see, but I've got a bunch of like pro decks behind me. I mean, we're up-resing it. It still can only go, but I'm not just turning it to digital. Like we are trying to like properly change the codec and the frame rate and bring it up.
And that's all stuff that adds on more time. Like, these are all just, you know, you could just kind of sloppily all right, tape recorder into a digital file, boom, now we have it. But you could spend all this time and try to get it to the, you know, to the best it could be. Obviously, it's almost 30-year-old footage at this point. It's not going to be amazing. It's not going to be, you know, what we're used to today. But, you know, do what you can to at least preserve it and help tell that story with it.
Yeah, and seeing those dudes at that age. So I have a question. Did any of you guys see the teaser for the Ironkids that it only aired during the finals of World Cup?
So I saw it because you sent it to me because I was on the field, and I think they're in the similar position. So I could actually maybe pass that link along. I don't know if that one will work or something, but
well, I was gonna say, like, if you want, I think that link is maybe gone, but I'm happy. Like, do you want to play it inside your show?
Yeah, no, we could definitely do that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we could throw it up here. All right, well, hey guys, do you want to watch the trailer for the Ironkids documentary right now, or a little teaser at least?
Through the power of editing.
Thanks to Dan Napoli.
It's 60 seconds. I mean, I can text it to you right now. I'm sure you don't want to play it off somebody's. But yeah, dude, you're going to do this in post.
All right, 100%. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, get ready for it. It's right here, Ironkids trailer. Enjoy.
the creativity to imagine.
No pros give you any respect because you're a kid.
Once you get a bunch of young guys on the road and you have the freedom and there's no rules.
What do you mean? You can't leave the kid in friggin' Amsterdam.
His mom was probably like, what the fuck? You let this happen? And I was like, I wasn't there.
And his dad bailed.
When you're out there on the field playing, the other shit in your life melts away.
I mean, it was like betrayal.
Pretty sure he was a traitor too.
It went from jealousy to fuck them.
We rose so fast.
The biggest mistake that Shane and I ever made was...
It's so hard to stay on top because everyone wants to destroy you.
He flipped a switch and he made the decision that he would rather die than lose at paintball.
Come on, they're calling themselves Ironkids.
Yeah, it's a fuck you to the establishment.
And I could hear people going, oh, how could they do that?
That team is the best team on the planet.
That's why we were so good. We loved each other.
Yeah, the best, purest, most fun I've ever had in my life.
I've got to do what I need to do.
He's the last guy in the beginning that I would have thought would stick it out the whole way.
All right, guys. So welcome back in. When I first saw that, I just said one thing, Dan. I said goosebumps, because it's awesome. Just hearing all those different voices, layering of just all the kind of characters that are involved with this story. It makes it feel so grand, and you're only showing one though, and it's I don't know. It's a very in a way, to me, it is touching, because it's kind of, those are all parts of my childhood, was watching all these dudes play paintball and watching your videos about them playing paintball. Mm-hmm. And now I got to work on one, and it's, about all the same dudes. And it's a full circle moment for me. And it's one that, I'm so thankful for you and Alex for helping, bringing me on to help out with. But yeah, so
dude,
yeah, guys,
I mean, to be able to do that, man. Yeah. What, would you guys think feel good? Feel interesting?
Absolutely.
Oh,
I think a lot of those voices, you could obviously tell there was like Ryan Greenspan, Skinny Kevin in there, it's like, I like being able to hear all the voices, it kind of reminds me of, it gives me the chills. I don't know if you ever heard this, the paintball song called Shoot and Paint. I don't know if you ever heard that song, right? But there's a moment where it's like, it cuts all the music and it's like all the dudes talking, where it's like, what, like paintball, like blah, blah. It's like the best way to get people to love paintball is to take somebody and take paintball, kind of let them play paintball and let them interpret their own way. That kind of reminds me of that. And it just really makes me in tune with, the sport that I've been playing for so long, grinding in, so I really do like it.
There's something so powerful about just a spoken word, just kind of by itself, not a lot behind it, just a little simple kind of tune. And it, yeah. Brandon, what's your thoughts on it real quick, buddy?
It's finding out all the backstory behind everything, as you said, there's so much history there, and maybe explaining why exactly they called themselves the Ironkids. Heard a little snippet there with maybe not, what Ryan Greenspan said. I don't know if it's directly connected to it, but that's what I put together. I don't know. There's so much untold history there, and that's the shit I like. That's what I like watching.
It's also kind of cool, I guess, from your family's aspect of like, that's where the Bairds left paintball, was kind of right when this Ironkids happened. I mean, they were there for the couple years before it, and then Rick eventually left a couple years before that. Your dad eventually left, and then it was a completely new, different set of people who had the name Ironman, but we're still kind of continuing on with it. And so it very interesting. Paintball is that's one of the things that always baffles me about the sport, is the connecting histories and storylines that just seem to flourish. It just seems like there's such a rich history in something that is I don't want to say small scale, but when you look at anything else in the world, it is a lot smaller scale than those type of projects.
So I have a question for you guys. I'd be surprised if you knew the answer to this.
Okay,
but you may. So somebody had the line in that, the biggest mistake that Shane and I made in it, and then it cut out. Do you know whose voice that was?
Oh, damn it.
Well, Shane. So I'm guessing it's an Iron Man member, because he's good played with Shane.
Shaner is it?
Is it?
He's talking about him and Shaner, like, dude, like that, like that's fucking Dave Youngblood. We have a Dave Youngblood interview in this. Like, Dave was gracious enough, who doesn't do a ton of interviews, But yeah, we
funny
sat down.
I did an interview about 2 weeks ago, and the person I interviewed had a lot to say about Dave Youngblood too. So that's really funny. That's
interesting.
Yeah, it's a polarizing figure for sure. But okay, that is awesome though. I haven't heard him speak much. I've never really heard his voice.
Yeah, I would not expect, and you know, Dave's like a figure in the industry that is, I'm like around, but not like if you're, you know, if you're a certain, like if you're my paintball generation, like people talk to Dave. So even if he wasn't doing on-camera interviews, like you're like, oh, I know he, but yeah, I wonder, but having a Dave Youngblood interview, because again, from a story perspective, and you know, I mean, Brandon, maybe you and your family are going to definitely dig this. I mean, we have to build the Iron Men as a character. Like the Iron Men have to matter if they, and they certainly matter in the grand scheme. I'm talking filmmaker world. I don't want that to come off incorrectly. But I mean, like, you know, so we have to
that was
get
directly
in a
to
bit.
The 2024 Ironman roster that's going to Vegas. No.
Thanks.
Hey, man.
Thanks, Mafia.
Got you, Dan.
But no, it's really important. And then that begets also the fact that, like, you have to address the fact that the Iron Men are actually originally a North California entity, and that Mare Island is this essential, and there's all of these layers,
and all these other
that kind of tie
tournaments,
into that.
Paintball Sam's, and all the rich history of Northern California paintball, which is something that I didn't know much about. Like, I knew some and kind of the popular stuff, but yeah, diving into, I've been researching a documentary about Bob Long. That's kind of the next target of one of the video essays I want to do. I don't know if you saw the WDP one.
I did, because I know those, because I lived that, dude. I did watch that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll get your thoughts on that in a second. But just to finish up, Bob Long, like, it was really interesting talking with Brandon's dad. There's so much that happened in Northern California with paintball, and kind of, you know, a lot of really high tier people, but also just really talented people came out of this area during the 90s and kind of then spread, you know, the joy of everything else. That's not calling down other places. Obviously, there was, you know, the All Americans camp, and, you know, there was other kind of great places that were putting paintball on the map, but this definitely was one of them at the start of that.
Oh man, I mean, one of the things that is like one of our kind of northern stars of the film. I mean, we want to pay proper homage to NorCal and Mare Island and what that, and then everything, because, like, dude, there's stuff that I don't think people, I mean, I didn't know this until recently, last couple years, because of the generation that I'm in. If you go like Billy Saransky, Danny Love, you're like, oh yeah, Chicago dudes, Chicago Aftershock. You're like, Chicago Aftershock, not Chicago dudes. Those dudes came up playing North California. Like, all of these guys that that they didn't cross my radar or a lot of people's radar until they relocated and they kind of crossed up. But Mare Island is this kind of like, and then North California is this little, dude, even San Diego Dynasty. It's called San Diego Dynasty because that happened as the kids were in college down there, but nobody's from San Diego.
Yeah, a majority of them are from the Bay Area, from Northern California.
It's in Northern California. So there's some of the elements that we're trying to kind of talk to in the film, and then actually, and again, man, this is so much on those guys. And as a filmmaker and a creative person or artist, whatever you want to say, I'm so grateful and humbled by them because, like, it's really character driven. It's really showing who people's are. Like, we talk about real life. Like, I don't want to talk. I would say the one of the biggest, like, analogous films is Till the Wheels Fall Off. Which is a Tony Hawk doc that's on HBO.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, dude, that doesn't just talk about the 900 and the fucking video game. That talks about Tony's marital issues and why Tony's issues with his parents being just him as a human being. It's really compelling stuff. And
also everyone, him asking people to do a kickflip. I loved that part of it where anyone he'd go up to, he'd just be like, can you do a kickflip? And then they'd try and fail or do it. And but it's a funny little moment.
Yeah, man, it's super. So, you know, we're trying to bring this, you know, so we are just really trying to elevate what we're doing, and it takes a long time. Also, like, I had some health issues and had some family health issues last year that, like, slowed some things down. But
you can never plan for that stuff. Unfortunately, it does happen. But yeah.
but we're cranking. And yeah, like we're and there's so much symmetry. Like the last national event that the Ironkids played was World Cup 1999. The last before people went places, my first World Cup was World Cup 1999.
What do you random question? Do you know what month that was in? Was it like August,
October.
September? It was October.
October.
Okay. Dan, that was a month before I was born.
Bro.
I was born the following month after that.
That's not an enjoyable piece of information.
So, but I also think that goes to show that like
brother,
your generation and you guys, this has been your life. I mean, you know, you guys have spent your adult lives for paintball and, you know, other things around, you know, other sports, other kind of, you know, things around this aspect. But, you know, guys like you, Alex, you know, Greenspan, Todd Adamson now kind of coming back into it. Like, these are dudes who have now given a majority of their life into this sport and this thing that we all love. And I think that's admirable.
So I'm trying to be, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, dude, I mean, it's weird. I don't know that I would have thought, you know, that I'd be able, you know, that I'd be welcome to do that. Like, you know, it's cool. I mean, dude, it was so crazy. Like, I was at the Orlando event, you know, the 2023 season kickoff. Darren and Go Sports was cool enough to bring me out and was working, you know, on producing some pre-tape stuff. And I hadn't actually set foot in an event in like 6 years. It was like emotionally humbling, like how welcomed everybody made me feel. Like, it was like, wow, man. It was, so, I mean, I feel fortunate to still be welcomed 25 years into it, which is wild to say.
Yeah, no, and it's, I mean, yeah, it goes to show, you know, kind of the long standing impression of, you know, the things that you've done and, you know, things that you've worked on with other people. You know, it's never just you, but obviously as a director, your name goes up top and a lot of the responsibility does kind of follow down through you into other members of the crew and cast. One of the things that I, you know, it stands out to me with a lot of your pieces of work is your music selection, your music influences and choices. And it's something that really has, you know, we've talked about before, but it has impacted me. I would not know what Midwest emo was if you know, never made paintball videos, but now I freaking, you know, I have it on my Spotify playlist, you know, like I listen to pop punk a lot more than I probably would if I never was exposed to some of that stuff from your guys' generations of, you know, videos. You know, it wasn't just you, but you know, a lot of that goes to say is, you know, music is a very big part. Is that something that's coming back into Ironkids? Is there, you know, something kind of touching towards that a little bit? Dude. Or if you want to speak on that. I mean, I haven't heard you talk about music for the piece much, but
yeah, I'm being fairly quiet. I will give you guys a quick heads up. My battery is low on my laptop, and I'm out of ports with my camera and my mic. So we'll just roll this till it dies. Yeah, this will be the biggest, like the best soundtrack that I've done. Like, we're in a different class of artists.
Oh wow!
I don't want to. So I mean, there's still some genre. I mean, the genre hasn't necessarily changed. We're bringing some different stuff in, but this will be. And I mean, honestly, a lot of that credit I have to give to Alex and Oliver.
I've seen this a little bit. I think I know where you're going.
Well, it's like, it's the number one thing, anybody that works commercially, that your client goes, can we chintz on the music? I don't know. Do we really need insert? You're like,
well, and I'm,
we do.
I'm gonna give you an example and say you do. So I just watched NASCAR's Full Speed. It's essentially their Drive to Survive or Full Swing about NASCAR. They ended it. Their big climactic winner being announced, confetti going off, into credits song was My Chemical Romance, Welcome to the Black Parade. That's a song that would never be used for something like that. But as we're starting to see more people from the younger generation come up into music supervision roles, saying, no, we do need a song like this, because when you see 120 frames of confetti going and a person crying and that song's playing in the background, it's emotional as all hell and it hits hard.
The spot. It just hits the spot.
Do any of you guys watch The Bear?
I haven't seen it. I know I should.
White?
I 100% know I should. It's one of those
I've seen
shows.
a little bit of it.
It's so fucking good. But dude, the soundtrack, the music is an essential. It's a character. It sucks. It's like being told like, oh, dude, that's awesome. Can you not use purple while you paint? You're like, what?
Yeah, I'm just gonna take that out of the palette.
I don't have to use. Fine. And I get, look, of course things have to make sense financially, but Alex and Oliver value that, and they value that art. So there's a little bit more like emphasis. I'm allowed to like, the discussion's a little bit more like, I mean, do you want lavender too, or just purple? You're like, no, I'll take some lavender. Cool, bro.
Yeah. Well, and I've seen it. I saw it a couple times on set where Alex kind of had a song in mind and was like, Dan, listen to this. How does this sound? Like, I was thinking for maybe this set. I kind of saw that conversation happen and take place a couple times. And I think that's one of the things that I think people need to take from maybe this conversation, but also other conversations around Ironkids, is Alex's involvement. He dove headfirst into it. He never really, I mean, I don't know his full background, but I don't think he's ever really been an executive producer in the sense that he has on this piece before.
No, but I mean, he has not. But I mean, Alex is definitely like an artist, and his dad is a big entrepreneur, and his mom was an entrepreneur, and his mom is artistic. So there's some elements of them understanding and obviously, and then Oliver is just the, like amazing person that he is. Like those guys just get it. They just get it. I mean, and that was my introduction too, is like when I first started coming around to paintball, there was kind of the secret underground of people, Maddie and your Eric Crandalls and your Brad Mons, and that somebody introduces you, like, Racky Cognoni goes, I'm going to take you over and meet like the guys like us. And you're like, you meet this person and you meet that person, yeah, they were definitely, of that, of that persuasion, because they get it. And, like Alex grew up skiing with his dad and seeing those ski films and how those, also the directive from those guys were like, I do not want this to be a fluff piece about how great we are. I want people, I mean, we've sent out like interview requests to people and said like, talk about how shitty they were to you as a person. That's fine. Like, we're not asking you to and it's very rare, right?
Yeah.
That, like, your EP is that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things I want to tread carefully, because obviously this is stuff, but there was heated moments in interviews at times. There was, emotion that was being shown about some stuff that took place, and it was, yeah, I'm excited for people to see some of those sides of the story that, I think just you couldn't know about. It's something that you'd have to be close to the team or around during that time to know.
Yeah.
One thing in the trailer that we were watching that I really thought was pretty interesting is whenever the word traitor is thrown around, dude, that is like the worst thing to ever be called, is a traitor. Yeah. So obviously, like, hearing that, it's like, man, I can't even, like, the emotion for that is going to be through the roof when you call somebody a goddamn traitor.
Yeah. Also note, the one female voice in the trailer is the one who calls somebody a traitor.
Yeah.
Like, man. I mean, it's just a crazy, amazing story with amazing, people. It's so improbable. Everybody's, oh God, everybody's really, really fucking interesting that we talk to. And I mean, that's the other thing when you talk about depth of character. Like, we talk to moms, we talk to sisters, like,
that's fantastic. So
yeah, we're trying to really make something, like I said, special, and I hope I hope people dig it.
I hope they do too. I mean, look, I was on a set for like 4 days, so like that's all I can say I contributed to it. But it still feels like I want this to be a successful, just because like I saw what was going into it almost more, if that makes sense. Like, it's kind of that, like, you're on the edge where you kind of see the outside perspective, then you're like, well, but I did see in for a couple days. There's some cool stuff coming, guys. Like, I'm very excited for it. I definitely am.
I love that you noted, Moffat, that and that people, I mean, that is like, it's very much, it's very much like a team sport. I don't know that I'm not 100% one of those like auteur vision guys. I mean, somebody has to be the captain, but like, dude, you were on set there, man. And like, there's a lot of even something quote unquote small budget, which in the scheme of things, like we don't even technically qualify. I mean, this will be
for the SAG ultra small, low budget scale.
Dude.
Or,
yeah, we're not even on that scale, and this might be the most expensive paintball documentary ever. We're not even
to hear
on the SAG deal. But like, just what we were doing there, you saw there was 5 of us, including
Sammy,
yourself,
you, Brad,
Dilts.
I think 5, maybe 6 once Brad got there, because he was then kind of talent,
depending
kind
on
of
how
crew.
you want to count Brad. Yeah, if you take, because it was you, Sammy Manzari, our DP, Chris Stiltz, our other camera person, and doing stills. We had
I forget his name, but the drone.
AC.
I know he flies drones. I forget his name right now. I feel bad.
Oh, that's what you're thinking of. Brad's brother Matt was our producer.
That's who it was. Okay,
who's fucking amazing and worked at Mare Island, is why Brad got up there. Matt Mon works for Override out of Utah, which is like a fucking ridiculous drone company, like drone commercial. I mean, the work they do is amazing.
Because I always think like when you see like drones flying at like the Super Bowl and stuff like that, like that's the type of applications, and the amount of permits and government stuff you need to do to be able to do those are insane.
There was a Kia spot at last year's Super Bowl where they drive up a mountain and they quote unquote like hit the ceiling of the sky, and there's drones that like Matt produced the unit that shot that stuff. Like that's
high level.
Yeah, so he came back and slummed it with us, which was fucking amazing.
That's awesome. Then good to know. But it was an awesome experience. I mean, and I never want to oversell it. That's the thing. Whenever I've talked about it on the show is, I was a cog in a machine. I showed up for a couple of days and I was there to help out. But like I said, it just makes me more excited, because now it's like you almost a little bit more of what the final vision of what that art piece is going to look like, and you're like, oh, now I want to see it. Like, oh boy, I've seen the bottom right corner. That looks awesome. Well, but what does the rest look like?
Dude, we like, again, I mean, and shit, Mafia, I mean, you made, it's like saying, I mean, offensive linemen make as much contribution as skill, quote unquote, skill position players, right? Like, dude, the stuff that we were trying to do. So like, this isn't a big giveaway. So everyone who's actually an Iron Kid is on that set, is interviewed on that set that you saw.
So the trailer, where Ollie sits down, that's the Ironkids set. That's
right. But that's only like 10 of the 30 people that we interviewed. Everyone else is shot in unique 30 different setups. Like, we did not want to do one of these, like, and we've done this for years, like this efficiency thing where you figure out
set up behind the Planet Eclipse tent, you have one angle, you just bring people in all day,
knock it out. I mean, we have 4 cameras on everybody, and every single interview, so we'd go to like an Airbnb or this like amazing space that were friends of the Frazee family that we could shoot at,
or the Frazee's household. That was one of the locations we were at.
Yeah, that was one of the households at his mom's place, and we're trying to figure out like how many different setups can we build in this house. So you do this 2-hour interview, and then you tear it down in the living room and you move to the kitchen for the next person.
Then you build it all back up again completely. Oh
no!
Oh, his battery died. The laptop died. Oh,
damn it!
Darn it! That sucks.
I'm blessed for what I got.
But essentially, what he was saying there is, you would do whatever your 2-hour interview is for a person in a certain location, and then, all right, now we're gonna go to the next bedroom. We're gonna bring everything in there, take an hour to build it, and then we're gonna do another 2-hour interview. Then we're gonna do that one more time for a third person. That's a day of filming. That's how you gather these type of interviews and stuff.
It's such a small detail that probably like the viewer isn't.
He said he is coming back. All right. He'll be back.
Isn't the viewer at the time doesn't notice it, but maybe if they don't do that, like it's if it's the same set over and over and over again, it's gonna.
Oh yeah, and it does become repetitive, because when you see someone in a new location, it does kind of spike that like, oh, something new's happening. Like, this is a new character. Something else is being added to the story.
Is this later down the line? When was this filmed?
Guys, can we? this has been a fucking amazing podcast. Am I the only one out here who's just kind of like, what was, like...
It's thrilling.
Jesus Christ, man.
It's a lot to listen to for sure.
Drop a rating. Come on, leave a like, drop a rating. Come on, people. What more do we need to do? Goddamn, we have exclusive trailers. We have Dan Napoli talking about, everything under the sun. I mean, yeah, this is an absolutely awesome episode. He did say he's going to come back in, so we're going to try to connect back up with him here. I think his laptop did die. He was warning us about that. And yeah, so we will be right back with you guys on the show in just a second. I mean, do you guys have anything you want to say? You guys have been quiet most of the show. This is your time to talk now, I guess.
I've just been listening. I'm obviously not a movie producer, so I don't know too much about movie producing. So he's answering a lot of the questions that I have, for sure.
Yeah,
he's very in depth with everything.
Exactly right. It's not
really
like
he's a pretty good storyteller, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's not like he's just saying, "Oh, I did this." And just quiet for a second. He's elaborate. He's like, I did this, and this is he elaborates on it.
Top 5 episode from the sidelines coming at you. We're gonna be right back with Dan Napoli after this. Let's jump back in, guys. We got him back live. I will say, just quick heads up, audio listeners out there. He did have to jump onto a different mic, so if quality sounds a little different, that's just the reasoning why. You aren't losing your mind or anything. Your speakers aren't going out. But we are back into the show. So. You were talking, Dan, and I kind of finished it up for you, where you were explaining, you build a set, interview someone for 2 hours, build another one in that same house, break that down, build a third one, get that interview done, and then, that's a day, essentially, is trying to get all of that fit in.
Yeah, and could not have done that without you helping us and other, and everybody that was on that team. So it's not like it's just something that I can just do, myself. I mean, everybody's contribution is super valuable.
Yeah. And I did kind of break up momentum there, but I just, at the end of the day, I'm excited for Ironkids, and I'm excited to see, what you guys put out. The music stuff as well, that got me, that has me excited. I know you were on Clint's show and he kind of broke the rumor, but, we have the From the Sidelines playlist that we add to, and about 6 of the songs that have been added to it so far have been from your piece and, one point of time along the way, somewhere else. So it's, it's funny to see, it's not just me. Brandon's added one. I think Hatch added one, the others too. So it's, it definitely, that influence kind of carries down just from something simple as the song that you choose.
What did you add? I want to know what the tracks are, man.
Honestly, I'm down to check. Let me go into my. Do we have record of all of the? Of all of them?
I actually don't
think so.
Don't think so. Yeah, because for those who don't know, and who, maybe if you're listening, you're out there, we do have a playlist that we'll update every couple of months with a topic on the show, and we'll kind of walk you guys through why we chose the songs that we did. So every couple of months it'll update. There's 5 selections from each of us on there, so it's a 15 song playlist. So yeah, go check that out if you want to see the last one. The last one we had was A Meteor Is Coming. You have 5 songs to listen to before you die. What are your 5 songs?
Yep.
So yeah,
Aliens
you can
are here.
Go check those out over on Spotify. We have some good selections over there. I think I chose Creed to go out to. What it was one of our listeners chose to go out to Wouldn't It Be Nice by the Beach Boys as the final song.
That's a good
one.
So
I thought I was very cinematic.
Yeah, that's a nice vibe.
I'm trying to remember what song I put for that was probably the very first playlist where we all put them on.
Oh, that's wild.
Because we've had different topics too. One of the other ones might have been better. I know Brandon put it was
I put 2 or 3 of them. Yeah, Money.
There's a Wonder Years song. There's a couple other ones. Money in the Power. That was one. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The fucking Kid Ink, man. That was from 50. Which, dude, again, this is where it came from that year. So Kid Ink played that live at WrestleMania in San Francisco with Travis Barker playing drums with him. And
that's
I was
crazy.
Fuck, I want that song. And so that's why we went
okay.
That segment is heavily Dalton and Marcelo, and I'm who had more swag in that time in that year than those two guys, man.
The Raiders beanie, the freaking dude he was aggy. The one that stood out for me, and I've stolen it because I've used it in my own productions, but Wonder Years, the living room song, because I think it's the perfect I don't know, that kind of culmination, coming to an end, wrapping up, bringing to a peak type song. It's yeah, I've stolen that from my own work, so that's definitely from you. I just want to let you know that.
Oh, it's all good. Dude, I mean, it's probably so silly. Like most directors will be like, "What the fuck, dude?" Nothing gives me more pleasure than hearing that somebody got into a band from probably because I used to work in a record store and like was a college radio DJ. Like nothing gives me more pleasure than hearing these stories that like we put a song in a scene and like everything, like also probably growing up with skate films and stuff like that where it always was like what part, but like that gives me immense pleasure. So thank you guys. I fucking love that.
Oh yeah, well of course. I mean it's funny because I remember thinking back when I was like first being introduced to that stuff. I thought it was so aggressive and so heavy, and I was like, I was a 12-year-old kid. I was like, what the fuck is this? I've only heard like rap and pop music and country, and then now like it's every day on the rotation. Like I listen to more songs that were made in the 90s than I do to songs that were made today, but they just sound really good. There's something about that driving kind of drum beat that just gets you going.
Brandon, did you have anything else on that list that was jumped out? I think you said
Yeah, I had Beautiful Gloom by The Sleeping Two. Oh, that from One Night in November. That was it just gets so like I don't know. It's so great. It gets me in.
It gives you emotions. It's okay. You can
does.
Say that.
It really does. Yeah. Little teary eyed.
On my way down. Yeah.
Dude, as everything's like building up.
Dude, that's the song I was thinking of. But now you're just saying that. Maybe that's the song I was thinking of. Dude, I love that song.
Yeah.
That song is so good.
DCMA. Or, yeah.
It's so wild to me that One Night in November has like tracked so well over, like it's really, I mean, weirdly enough, I think that is probably the film, the three films I get asked about the most are Paintball are One Night in November, Red Sunday, and 15. Those are and two of those you would not.
Those are my favorites.
Not expect. Yeah. Like, dude,
I think that goes to show the story that those, pieces portrayed. Because yes, everyone loves, Dynasty, obviously, kind of that culmination of, years of being a dominant team. But, the Chicago Aftershock story and the Vicious story was not of being a dominant, we're going to show up to every event and we're going to win. Well, in that period of time, in other timelines, maybe. But, it was interesting to see in essentially what was their last, time in the spotlight up until this season. They went out there and they got a win, and they were able to put it up against the, the best team in the world. And that's such a powerful story that I think anyone can see and just resonate with and be like, oh shit, Nick Sloviak, wow, you did a good job. I want to watch more of this dude play. What is he doing? Oh, he's playing for Aftershock again. What the fuck? Are we back in the year 2013?
Well, and it's wild too. So you forget that team that won the Vegas event is kind of what birthed the Heat the next year.
When we had Ronnie on, we talked to him about this, and it's really, it was the right place at the right time, kind of. And that's sometimes you can't predict that. You didn't go into that Vegas tournament knowing what would take place, knowing Mouse would have the best cheat ever in the same game, and like there's so many things that kind of made that a historic moment in paintball history.
Yeah, that's why it's sports, and then that's why it's uncomfortable.
That's why we play the games, like, yeah.
And I think that's why it's uncomfortable sometimes for brands to get, because you don't like, it's not a spot. Like, it's not a commercial. Like, if you're going to commit to documenting this, you don't know how it's going to go. Like, you can't guarantee somebody's outcome in Texas. I don't know what's going to happen at that event.
Mm-hmm.
Very true.
I mean, relating it back to, the NASCAR spot that I was talking about, there was definitely a driver that they were pushing for in their first couple episodes of, we want this guy to win, and we are telling his story, hoping that he is the one who wins, setting up his dad, setting up, these other things. And he makes it to the final round, but he doesn't win. And so you can see in the last episode where they almost had to scramble and bring in the dude who does end up winning and kind of introduce him last second, because they weren't expecting that. They didn't, expect for him to be the guy who's holding the trophy at the end of the day. So, you know, that's kind of the part when you have these sports documentaries, it's made in real time. It's, you know, stuff that can change and you know, turn greatly at, you know, the drop of a hat kind of.
I think people are really unfamiliar the scope and the scale of like that NASCAR show, Drive to Survive, Hard Knocks. Like I can't speak to that crew, but I think so. Like the most recent Hard Knocks, the in season with the Dolphins, which is fucking awesome. They had 86 people in the camera department.
That's just cameras. That's just filming. That's just like holding cameras or downloading that's not editing. That's not getting, you know,
media managers. Maybe that included sound people. But there was something like
it's not your grips. It's not your
it's a massive undertaking to do stuff at that scale. It's lots of talented people. That's how you make shows like that, and like that costs a lot of money. It just does.
Well, well, just like you said, talented people aren't cheap, you know, because someone else is going to pay them for that talent. And so, you know, and especially when you need 100 of them to do a successful production, that's where those fees and that starts to come in. And then, you know, if you add in some of the high technology, you know, pieces of broadcast equipment, we're starting to be seeing like it was like the virtual reality type stuff they did for the Super Bowl, where they had that camera array so they could show a play but then move around it in real time because they had all the different angles. That's a lot of money. I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of money invested into making that. So, you know, that's where all this stuff comes from. And that's the things that, you know, I want people to understand from production, because a lot of people who are sitting on the couch don't fully realize why it's so expensive, or why they're, you know, the thing that they're seeing is happening that way.
So like, dude, when I'm being a production manager, I mean, I will always tell client and/or producer, executive producer, this is like, look, the best quality stuff is created by like one person, one job. The more, and we all come from this indie grind world, so it's not the DIY world. It's not that it's, you know, but if I'm doing sound and camera, I'm now 80% on two things, and and you just start stacking up, and then it's like, oh, if I'm responsible for 4 different people, I got to go find Marcelo, and like, fuck, Ryan Greenspan's doing something cool over here, and I'm not like that helter. Like the best productions don't work like that. Like, you know, your Hard Knoxes are like, dude, Tyreek's fucking, something's happening, go follow him. The producer's on the radio and somebody goes, and it's just, you know, it just scales up. And then other parts of production, it's just like a paintball team, dude. Southwest and Hilton make a ton of the money. Like, you're traveling, man. You know, when you travel,
getting
like,
people to a certain location, that's expensive sometimes. Yeah.
A lot of plane tickets to Vegas were bought this past weekend for fucking CBS.
A lot of hotel rooms were bought in Vegas. Like, that's
always like such a major part of like
feeding those people. Like, you know, taking care of those people so they can give you, you know, the best quality that you want from them. It's, I mean, those numbers inflate quite quickly when you start adding those aspects into it.
Those productions, and I mean, dude, and people that work live, even the fucking Go Sports folks, man, I have so much respect. Like,
it's the best adrenaline dump you could ever ask for, though, because it's that like. It's hard to explain, because it's one of those things that you really do have to experience. But when you nail a show perfectly from Q1 to Q98 or 800 or whatever it is this high that I can't replace. Like I you know, when I worked live shows a couple of years that I did, you feel so proud, like, and the whole crew feels that together. It's like going out there and mercying a team. It's like just everyone does everything so well and you just stomp on them. That's great. It also is great when it doesn't go well and when everything is just going chaotic and, you know, fucking guns are going down and you're trying to fix it on the fly. Because then you still look back and you're like, guys, we still put that together. Like, we still figured it out and got through the show. It wasn't the best we could have done, but we did something.
I always tell people, it's just live is unforgiving. Like, I mostly work in post, so like I have the ability to, and then further develop this skill set of tricks that fix things that we didn't get right, or that we have, like, you know, folks that are doing stuff live do not have that. And then when you get on the scale of the Super Bowl, like, it's not fucking okay to miss a shot. It's just not.
No. Yeah.
Like,
if you don't have Taylor Swift reacting when Travis Kelce catches the touchdown, what the fuck are we even here for? What's the whole point?
If that TV in the truck says fucking go to Taylor Swift now, and she's not in focus, that dude's fucking fired. Like, there's just no, it is unforgiving. So yeah, man, tons of respect for folks that work in live production.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite Instagrams I follow, Behind the Broadcast. It's something I recommend people go check out there, because they do a good job of showing off kind of the realities of working in live production. And of course, I've never been on a CBS Super Bowl level set or anything like that, but it's stressful, it's demanding, but it's also, God, it's so satisfying when you get it right. And that's I think why a lot of people get addicted to it. It's something I've heard a lot from a lot of veterans who actually come and kind of get into production. It's very similar from that, like, kind of that chaotic, energy. And that's, it's, thankfully it's not serious, it's not a gunfight. It's not anything like that, but it's a little bit of that, like, we got to fix something right now. So, the screen can display, it's a little different stakes, but you still want to do the best job you can. And, that is something that, I've ran into a lot of guys who, got out after 4 years and now I'm doing production, because it's kind of what replaces that feeling.
It's crazy to think about, like, with the live football and the Super Bowl, where it's like, all right, the play happens right there, and 5 seconds later they're showing it super zoomed in, slow-mo, like 120 frames a second, and it's like that level of coordination that it probably takes. It's like, all right, this guy has to be connected to this, where it's like, and then this needs to be shown to where everybody is looking at it on the main screen. Like, so, Dan, like, how does that really work? Like, how many guys does that really have to go through?
Yeah, that's a string of, a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, and
it's within 5 seconds.
Yeah, there's a lot. So, you ultimately have, and again, I mean, some of this is analogous to what Go Sports. I mean, you have, I will preface, most of my experience isn't in live stuff, but, like, I mean, you have the technical director who's calling your shots. You have people lined up. You also have an element, I'm not sure how it's executed, but you have an element that, like, some of the details you're talking about is like, I just know because it was in his post-game interview, if the game hadn't ended, they would show it differently. Somebody missed a block on fucking Chris Jones, dude, in that overtime drive. Like, they schemed that up incorrectly. So what would happen? I mean, somebody is coordinating that they would want to show, or like even like to go find the holding. Somebody is aware, right, of to be like, there's a flag, but then as to, like, pull in what camera was zoomed in on, like, whatever it was on the left guard. The other thing too, and like Maddie and I would joke also in years past, while absolutely folks your broadcasters do their research and they are super educated, they also might not know that, like, the 7th string fullback went to, like, Appalachian State. Like, they have earpieces. Like, dude, they have staff. They have production crews who are ramping up those things. And
a good way to point this out, if you ever see a lower third on the screen for a stat, the broadcaster is being told that stat in his earpiece that as he's saying that live. Like, that is a moment that they have set up and know, hey, both these players went to Stanford. We may talk about that, so we have that ready to go in case we have some downtime and we want to show both of them on the screen and have Joe Buck talk about that for a second or something like that. Like,
we're popping to the Lions percentage on 4th down, so that, like, it's seamlessly, like, right as Aikman and Buck or whoever called that game are going to talk about whether they should go for it, or like, oh my God, what are they going for? Like, that graphics, like, there's so many people working on those things to make it that seamless.
Well, it's always funny to me because whenever you see a broadcaster booth, you see that front view and they usually have their kind of table hider, so you don't see anything that's on the desk or anything there. If you ever see from the other side, there's 4 different screens, there's 3 notebooks, there's a phone out on the desk, there's a glass of water. Like there's so much access that they have information available to get to them that it almost makes them look better than they are, just because they're able to find that stat or to find that information or to draw that, his completion percentage was 32% last game. Let's bring that in right now because we know that, or yeah.
And the pre-pro process, I think actually one of the best NFL broadcasters, Mike Tirico, who's a journalist, a pretty legendary sports journalist, and Chris Collinsworth were, I think, some of the first guys I recall on air calling out the fact that, like, they're having meetings prior to game day with coaching staff and with players about storyline.
Well, I talked to Belichick last week, and when we brought up in that meeting, it was that Brady's coming out looking tired. Yeah, exactly, like that type of. We're getting coverage, and we're trying to get deeper into the story.
When we sat down, when we sat with him in our meeting on Friday, like they'll preface. So there's this prep work going on as well. Like it is not this just like ruck up. Like
sit down, yeah.
I think it's a pass play, and then kind of call on there's an amazing amount of, and then the new technology stuff, which again I'm not even that familiar with how it's full execution, but being able to where you see them they're sweeping around and they're pulling out like players from like the line of scrimmage, or that like there was a couple of those composite shots. From 360 stuff, and I think you're going to continue to see more and more interesting things like that.
It's insane. I mean, on a high level, that technology, essentially what they do is they build a digital recreation of the playing field, and then they have cameras in 3D space that line up with where they are on the playing field, and then they're able to lay that footage on the kind of digital landscape that they've made, and then they can go and move anywhere around it because they have the coverage from all the different stadium angles. It's way more in depth and crazy than that, enough. But that's very high level, kind of what it is.
Point and click.
But like that's the type of stuff that when you have ad revenue, when you have broadcasting rights, like when you have a reason to want to make your product better, then okay, yeah, let's spend $1 million to try and make a digital version of the field goal that every time it goes through, SpongeBob comes up and says, "Let's go, Patrick," like shit like that. Nickelodeon, that was one of the numbers I talked about in the 123 million, was a completely digitally enhanced version of a football game, being broadcasted by 2 fictional TV characters.
Did you see the way they were hooked up? With like the machine, they were hooked up with like full bodysuits, where it was like SpongeBob and Patrick in the corner. No, like full bodysuits, like they were. No. But
here's the craziest part.
Go ahead.
iPhones, their facial recognition and like ability to capture facial elements is that good. It is really considered some of the best. Like if you don't want to have a dedicated face rig for it, so that's something that a lot of digital animators will use. Is they'll use an iPhone that's in front of you that's capturing your facial performance to then map into Unreal Engine or whatever digital asset you're using. But that was another thing that I found funny was they just 2 Pro Maxes sitting there in front of them throughout the whole game as they're giving their takes on everything.
And they were going so well with it. It was as if like SpongeBob and Patrick were actually commentating the game.
No.
Yeah.
Dude, if my daughter was little or I was still 22, there's a really high chance I would have been watching the Nickelodeon version of the game instead.
Yeah. And it was kind of cool because they tried out earlier in the year. They did that digital concept I was talking about where they made the whole thing digital. They did the Toy Story Andy's Playbox version.
I do remember that for kids.
That one was almost too far because essentially it was a Madden game that was being tracked to real players. This was at least they showed the real broadcast and it was the actual footage, but they added enhanced elements after the fact, different graphics on screen, and they obviously the characters are in a digital they're in a digital environment, and they had like preset scenes and stuff, some funny gags and stuff that they had ready throughout the game. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, 2055, maybe SpongeBob's going to cast the NXL. Maybe that's what we're looking at. I think that's what we need to get us on the map, guys.
I completely agree, Ryan.
We need to talk to Paramount Productions right now.
Maddie and SpongeBob together? Oh my god.
Holy shit, dude. That is some next level talk right there.
The two, it would be Maddie and SpongeBob, and then Rich and Patrick. Those would be the two lines.
The subs.
It'd be great. We're kind of, we're getting down to the end here, guys. Dan, thank you for your time tonight. But before we get out of here, I do want to give our co-hosts a chance to kind of, get a couple of their questions out there. I've been, kind of dominating. So, Hatch, I know you just had one with the replay truck. Brandon, maybe if you wanted to jump in with one.
Yeah. Just wanted to know your thought process of how you choose or have chosen topics and stories to cover. Doesn't have to necessarily be paintball, but within your projects.
Oh no, man. So first, I think especially with docs, because you live with them so long. To borrow from Ted Lasso, I suppose, is like, you got to be curious, man. Being curious on a topic is important. It has to, or a subject like that, like it has to interest me. I have to at least be curious about it because, it's an exploration and you're going to dedicate a really long amount of time to this. I like things that you go kind of like, okay, but why? So, my minor league baseball documentary I directed, 50 Summers. The core story is Omaha and Kansas City are partners. Omaha is the AAA partner for Kansas City for over 50 years. It's the longest relationship in baseball. All the other ones are way shorter. Well, why? Why is that one different? What's different about that? So, you can even take Dynasty or the Ironkids in a way. Most teams or sports stories, even outside of paintball, if it was, let's say, all-star select baseball team, they're going to end at the Ironkids part, the early Ironkids part. They'll be like, we were this cool team, and somebody had more ambition or this or that, and then we went our separate ways. And it ends. It didn't end for them, right? It goes back, and so it's well, why? What is that? That stuff is interesting to me.
Something that's it's not normal in sports almost. Something like BKIT is almost similar, where it's a state that kind of was underlooked at for the early parts of paintball, and how these guys were kind of able to make their own friend group and kind of grow up in the ranks together with each other.
Yeah, and that has always interested me. Of course, people who do. I like people that do innovative things that kind of aren't supposed to succeed or don't necessarily follow a beaten path. I also and it's weird, but I've become more comfortable as I've gotten older embracing this with myself. I like telling stories that are honest, but ultimately make people feel good. I don't know that I would do a really deep socioeconomic social cause doc, even if it was something that I identify with.
The one that kind of reminds me is Icarus, the story behind that of that kind of started out as a very benign topic, and then all of a sudden they stumbled into Russian Olympic doping scandal, and it's wait, what the hell? And it's I was talking about cycling, okay, but that's the type of things that you don't almost expect the story to go there. That's kind of the most powerful stuff, because it's it's stuff that you can't write. You can't think of it in your head and try to put this story down there, and that's why it's real. That's that's one of the things that I love with sports documentaries is it was real. It was a story that had to take place and be portrayed in real life.
Yeah, I think that then kind of transitions to that, maybe a lot of this was first tier, Brandon, and then I think second tier stuff kind of becomes then almost, maybe it gets a little bit more mechanical, but you go, okay, well, where's the conflict? Where, do we have some of these fundamental, is there an inciting incident? Where, what themes? So you go the themes of the Ironkids are, ambition, betrayal, friendship, lack of fathers, figuring out. I haven't said paintball once. Like those themes, you go, oh, okay. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of humanity here. I don't think I'd ever do a murder doc. Like I'm just not into that.
True crime. You don't want to be the next.
Not my, and I'm not shitting on that genre. It's not. I mean, my daughter, fucking Sophia, loves those. It's just not, because I have to live with it for so long.
Yeah, that is. I could see that. Like it almost, the story becomes you in a way, and it's if it's someone's death and darkest days, then that's kind of sad.
Think about if you do like the Jeffrey Dahmer doc, living with that, and edit on that. Once you hardcore get, even if you're just the editor, if you hardcore get into the edit, it's probably 4 or 6 months. Like, oh man,
of your life just being kind of soul sucked away almost a little bit. Like I don't know.
I would have a hard time doing that. It would probably have bad mental health effects on me. So like, I don't know. That's kind of some of the things that go into my process.
I like the worst thing in my stories to be like a loss of a game, like, or a loss of a season, or it's because it is hard when to be the storyteller, to have to tell a very dark or serious moment in a story.
Well, yeah, like the whole, I mean, and don't get me wrong, this is like a fundamental of documentaries, but seriously, if it's like whatever, I'm trying to think of like there's not really a benign political topic anymore. Somebody's like, hey, like, do you want to do like a doc on the overturning of Roe v. Wade? I'm not that director. Regardless, I'm not even saying whether it's like, I'm like, no,
I don't want to touch that.
And I know I'm not the guy for that, because it's not something that is gonna like resonate with me. And again, I've gotten more comfortable in that selection process as I've gotten older. When I was younger, it was a lot harder to not say yes to something, just like because it's like an opportunity. But then I'm like, because I really come from a journalist background, and I want to serve the story. And it's like, if I know that like a social cause documentary is not a space I'm comfortable in, I'm not doing justice to the people I'm covering.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to try to keep that in mind also.
Okay.
Damn. So, when you are
oh no, internet, no, we almost made it through the show.
Oh, do you lag out?
Oh, okay. No, it was me. All right. We're back though. Okay, cool. We're almost through the show. So hold on, internet. Hold on. All right.
So, as you began a project that you're beginning to tell a story, you're going down the road that you envision, and then you come across something that like all of a sudden you have to pivot and go down another route to tell, maybe a different story that just kind of arose that you didn't foresee.
Yeah, to a certain degree, we've definitely had that happen. Like my general approach going into a doc is like the 80-20 rule. So I guess first I should step back in the fact that like, okay, well, there's two kinds of docs, right? There's like a historical doc, which the Ironkids is because it's ultimately happened, right? And then there's like One Night in November or, Drive to Survive, like you're covering what is actually happening. And those are hard. You have far less control. And in those manners, like, dude, we have an MMA doc that's kind of like not really stalled, but just in a hanging out period right now that's in production. Rafion Stoss is fucking awesome dude. He fights for Bellator. He was the Bellator middleweight or bantamweight champion, interim champion. His doc has taken a million twists and turns. We started covering him in 2016 because like somebody loses a title unexpectedly, somebody gets hurt, like Like we're angling. He was angling to fight for the Bellator bantamweight champ against his teammate Sergio Pettis, which rarely happens in MMA. Sergio breaks his tore his ACL training. So now Rafian's in an interim battle, and then Bellator's created like $1 million tournament inside of. So there's all of these twists and turns, and like that doc is still like in production. What's probably happened to me more, Brandon, is within the context of a doc, like the minor league baseball documentary. There's a whole section on Bull Durham and North Carolina. Because it like changed the face of minor league baseball. I didn't know that, even though like I was old enough, like, you know, I was like 13 when the movie came out. I knew the movie was a big deal, but what started happening in our interviews is of the first 5 people we interviewed and we're like, hey, what are the 3 pivotal moments? Every one of them had the explosion of Bull Durham either first or second. So we're like, shit, dude, we have to go. We
need to go watch this movie.
Yeah.
All right. Like,
more so, like we have to go to North Carolina.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, that is interesting. You know, it's sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So it's, you know, it's figuring out from your subject what, you know, ultimately what is the answer? What is the story?
There's something that happened in the 12 minutes that I gave Alex this morning. Sorry, I'm thinking how I'm going to tell this without giving anything away. So there is, in this Hawaii section, there's an Iron kid who hasn't appeared very much in this section. Don't have very many comments from him. So I go back and I look at our selects and I'm like, hey, okay, it's probably not in there because nothing he said was super strong. But like, he must have said something else. So I go back to the raw and I find like an awesome story that he tells. Well, I just happened to bring in, get a delivery of archival Hawaii photos from Chris Haas and Chris Stiltz at Paint. And I go, oh, fuck. They actually have photos, because even if I wanted to put the story in, there's like 9 jump cuts in this. Like I don't have any coverage. And then I go, oh my God, they actually have stills of this dude's story.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And that, like, I fucking love that story. And I was like, yeah, dude, it almost didn't make it.
That's a really good way to relate that is because, you know, one of the things you said there, you didn't have coverage of it. That's the hardest part with these history docs that I've been kind of working on, you know, on a smaller scale is like, I need to show something, but I have written proof of it. I have, you know, this dude's saying it. How do I show that to the audience? Like, is there something that I can show the location of where it happened? Can I show people who are involved with it? And so, yeah, I mean, all of a sudden being like, oh, I want to add this story. There's images of the story. Like yeah, that's wow, that's an awesome moment.
I think maybe there's a weird like correlation between playing paintball. Like, yes, you have to have an excellent game plan that you're super confident in. You also have to be prepared for the unexpected, right? And like, you lose some guys on a bounce shot or somebody off the break or somebody gets a penalty, and, you know, where we're talking about their movie, but you look at, you know, historically speaking, you know, Dynasty probably has like the coldest, you know, the coldest blood, the thickest bit to just be like, okay, this didn't go down, but like we can still like pivot. And because we know to get, you know, what we want, we have to be able to move over here. I mean, that I think is kind of some of my approach. Like, I'm confident, I have a plan and I know where we want to go, but I can't be so rigid that, you know, he wasn't supposed to fucking die in his second in Dorito too, right? But he fucking did, man. So, you know,
so Marcelo's now at home by himself. He's got 3 Impact players running at him, and he's got to try and fight for his right to party. Apparently, thank you, Travis Kelce, for that line. But that was a reference to World Cup this last year. I mean, that game was awesome to see Tyler in that as well. I mean, that's one of the cool parts for me is now starting to see some of the guys who, you know, I first started this whole journey with back in 2016 now seeing them start to come up in prominent positions, and freaking Tyler Pantaleo, I saw that kid play 3-man. I'll always say that to this day. It's always crazy to me that I saw that dude and his brother and his dad play a 3-man team together, and now he's playing in the finals. So sports are amazing like that, and I think paintball is one that we found out tonight. Paintball is, there's so much history. It's just so deep and so vast, and a lot of it's been told, but also a lot hasn't. There is a lot that still is kind of out there to be found or to be told by the right person. There's a lot of guys like your dad, Brandon, who've got 20 years of stories in their head, and when you ask them about one thing, they'll give you 2 hours about something else, but damn, is it still interesting. Shout out Mike, because that was an awesome interview, and hopefully I can get something out from that soon, because it was great to sit down with him for that.
Iron, man.
So yeah, boys, let's unfortunately, that's our 2 hours. We're getting towards the end of the show. We have to bring it home. We have to wrap it up. But before we do that, we got to do our 2 things that we do every single week. Hatch, let's do a code word of the week first, while Brandon pulls up his cool guy of the week.
Yep, here we go. All right, this is a play on words of one of my favorite films. So code word / phrase of the week: One Night in February, because we're just recording this, and this episode comes out in one day in February. But
All right, I like that one. If you guys don't know, if you're new around here, this is your first time checking it out because Dan is our guest tonight. Well, hey, thank you. Appreciate that. Drop the code word down to us. Send us to it, a DM somewhere, put it in a comment somewhere. It's just our way of knowing that you stuck around to the end of the show and that you're a cool person. It's like our own little like Orphan Annie's like radio code hour. Dan smiling because he gets that reference, but no one else will, because that's definitely an old one. So One Night in February, let us know this week. Send us a text with that or something in it. Brandon, cool guy of the week. Who's our cool guy of the week?
Who is it, bro?
For episode 81?
The cool guy of the week. All I could find on him is that he's Angry Grandpa. Here we go. I just sent that. Angry Grandpa.
Is it that YouTube? Didn't he die? Is it that YouTube guy that died?
Okay.
No, he didn't.
All right,
die.
gonna have to splice this on screen right now.
It's a different guy.
Yeah, right. It's my bad. This is
Oh, I've seen this one. Yeah.
This grandpa goes.
You ugly fucking bitches. I've seen that one.
Yeah. He goes up in front of a school board and just immediately insults them, and he exercises his freedom of speech in front of the school board and the audience, and.
Well, we salute you, Angry Grandpa.
Fucking
episode 81, cool guy of the week. Hell yeah! I wish we had an actual name for him, but there we go. Cool guy of the week for this episode. Guys, getting to the end of the show, I gotta go through all of my normal stuff. Make sure you rate the show, whatever platform you're on. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. They've all got a way to either like it, drop a 5-star rating. All of those help. Most of these platforms, they don't really care about audience members, listeners jumping on in. They care more about the ratings. That's how they kind of promote the shows up in the algorithm. So please take a second. It's free to do. It costs no money at all. Drop a rating real quick. And yeah, I mean, look, we got Dan, guys. Come on. What more do I have to do to get a 5-star rating out of you people out there on the thing? Okay, you could have already done it already. Also, on those platforms, you have the ability to subscribe or follow along. It's just going to notify you whenever the next show is live and ready to go. It's going to be right there waiting for you on your phone or your laptop, wherever you listen to the show at. Check that out as well. We have the Patreon. Head over to patreon.com/Mafia_Moffat. The underscore is key there. Mafia_Productions. Sorry, it's not Moffat over there. I messed that up. So let me say that one more time. Patreon.com/Mafia_Productions. If you do Mafia Productions, it's gonna take you to someone else's page. They stole it already. I can't get it down. I'm not a member of that. But Mafia_Productions. Head over there. Check out all the bonus content that we have over there. We have the fucking, I can't think of the name of them right now because we haven't done one in a second, but we have movie nights over there. We also have you get access to the show the second it is available to go. You also get ad-free episodes of the show and other content, so it's worth it to go head over there, check it out. You can use a free trial for a free week, see if it's something that you want to stay tuned in for or get signed up for. So go head over there, patreon.com/Mafia_Productions. One last time. We also have the merch available at xxvthelabel.com. I've got the From the Sideline shirt on tonight. I don't see any of the Stabber shirts, but we've actually been doing really well with those. Michael Diaz sent me a thing saying, hey, we've been selling those like crazy. So appreciate everyone out there who's been supporting the show, grabbing a piece for yourself. Stabbers don't get stabbed. Make sure everyone out there knows that you're a stabber, and that's what you do. Phrase came up by our very own Stephen Hatch up there. So yeah, I'm glad we were able to make that into a cool little piece of merch now. Check that out, xxvthelabel.com. And one last time, I have to thank our lovely sponsors for tonight, Liquid IV, liquidiv.com. I mean, man, Brandon's been drinking it every episode of the show. He loves it. It's a great hydration multiplier. He also drinks it out at the field when he's sweating, you know, all the paintball gear on. He's losing all those fluids. He's got to put them back in. And he does that. He chugs a Liquid IV and he gets right back out there on the field because he keeps him hydrated and ready to go. A ton of great flavor options over at liquidiv.com, as well as all their different sizes. They have the jumbo packs. They have like the small packs if you just want to try it out a little bit. You can use code Mafia_Moffitt for any of those options there. It's going to get you 20% off and free shipping. So head over there, liquidiv.com. Mafia_Moffitt is the code to use at checkout. We appreciate them and their support for the show. They've been here since pretty much the beginning of the video shows. They've been stuck around for a long time. NECTR Energy, NECTR.energy, NECTR.energy. It's a great little energy pouch. There's no nicotine in this product, no tobacco, nothing of that sort. It is a caffeine and neurotropic product. So this is the only, stimulants of that sort in it. You can throw it in your lip. It's got a great flavor to it. The fresh mango or iced mango, fresh mint, spearmint, berry blast, sour apple. I think that's the other one they released. I may be missing one, but they have great flavors as well. Go check them out at NECTR.energy. And save yourself a little bit of money with the code Mafia_Productions. And lastly, the last thing I have to talk about tonight is weltsclothing.com. We appreciate them over there at Welts Clothing. Can't wait to throw some stuff on. It's going to be great. We did send some stuff out to Lastro because he won it in the giveaway for the Christmas episode. So that was awesome. I know he's been wearing that snapback with pride down there. And there's some awesome...
Send me a picture with the jersey.
Hell yeah. There's some other awesome things available at their store. Scott actually dropped some new products last week, I want to say. It was like just after the podcast. So yeah, go check it out. If you haven't recently, go check out weltsclothing.com. Use code FTS. Save a little money at checkout. Get yourself in some Welts Clothing gear. All right, boys. Well, that's a podcast. Before we go any further, we got to stop for a second and thank our lovely guest, Dan Napoli. Thank you so much for coming on to the show tonight, man.
Thank you,
brother. If you guys...
If people want to stay up to date with you and kind of the progress on Ironkids, what social media platforms should they head to? Is there anything in particular?
The thing I update the most is my Instagram. It's just at Dan Napoli Films. I've been pretty good as we've gone into more full post production. I'm posting an update at least every Monday. Some stills from set, some different stuff like that. So that's like a great place to get stuff from me personally. Obviously from Hermesis, you're gonna get also like any information. But yeah, if you want to give me a follow and get updates, Instagram is going to be the best place for that.
All right. Well, we will have that down in the description, but if you want to check it out, at Dan Napoli Films, just his name and the word films at the end, because that's what he does. But yeah, I mean, one more time, guys, thank you very much to Dan Napoli. Hey, let him know out there that you appreciate him coming on the show. Maybe we'll have him back in the future when the whole docs come out and we'll be able to talk about it a little more in depth other than just vague. This happens, that might happen statements, like stuff like that.
Dude, I know. Our audience is like, fuck that guy, Jesus, could you just talk to us when it's done?
It's a lot easier. All right, well,
one time.
For everyone out there, thank you guys for listening. This has been a great episode. We're so proud of it. But guys, we got to bring it home. For Brandon Brando Baird, for Stephen Hatch, for Dan Napoli. My name is Ryan Mafia Moffitt, and we're going to catch you guys on the next one. Hatch, bring us on home.
Bye.
See you guys later.